Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just weeks away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Disney and Lucasfilm is that we do know that they are treating this movie like gold, because this movie is really going to determine the future of the franchise and where it's going to stand after Episode 9's release, and it all depends on the box office results and how successful this movie is really going to be. And it's not just that, it's also exactly how this film is going to resonate with Star Wars fans around the world, and exactly how that's going to really just cater to everybody in all different mediums of the franchise. Now, on top of all of this, we do know that Disney and Lucasfilm went through many different changes and transitions throughout the months of August, September, and October is when they deleted many scenes and really shifted things around and changed things quite, dramatically, that would really change the overall cut of the movie. And with that being said, what's really unfortunate has all to do with actor Mark Hamill's portrayal as the character of Luke Skywalker. Now, specifically, it's explained that during the reshoots and the rewrites of the film, during the months of August, September, and October, is when many changes and adjustments were made to the second and third acts of the film by Disney, Lucasfilm, and Kathleen Kennedy. Now, one of the key changes to the film had to do with deleting many scenes associated with some of the legacy characters in the movie, where it's explained that one of the key scenes for Luke Skywalker that were deleted was going to involve a segment in which that it would have taken place within the second act of the film in the form of a flashback that would have told the origin story of Luke Skywalker's new generation of Jedi and his Jedi training temple. It said that this flashback scene was going to center on a small sequence that would unveil that Luke Skywalker would have a love interest with one of the human female Force sensitives, a part of his Jedi Order, that was said to be Disney's new take on the character of Luke Skywalker, showing us a different side of his life apart from being a Jedi Master, like how he is in the sequel trilogy. This flashback scene was said to have been 80% finished before production came to a halt, where Kathleen Kennedy wanted to set a different tone for the film, where this scene was ultimately deleted. This sequence in particular would have actually unveiled that Luke had a love interest for many years, and though it's unclear if it was Mara Jade, the character was said to be a part of his new Jedi Order, and was said to be one of Mark Hamill's best acting sequences in the movie, before it was cut, sadly. However, it's said that Disney and Lucasfilm plan to explain Luke's love interest and love life in the form of a book or novel coming in 2020, sometime that will explain all of this in greater depth. Another sequence that was cut from the film involved a segment in which Mark Hamill portrayed the character of Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost, where he would actually help Kylo Ren during his battle against Palpatine. Now, it's said that this is where Luke would tell Ben Solo a series of ancient Jedi code to keep him inspired to fight Sidious and to actually destroy him once and for all, and that for this cut of the film, Kylo was said to be the one to destroy Palpatine instead of Rey, like how it is in the final cut of the movie. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing that's very unfortunate about this, and in my point of view here, is a very bad and terrible decision by Disney and Lucasfilm, is that this would have given us an idea of Luke's life well before the events of The Force Awakens, basically showing us a Luke Skywalker that is more associated with how Luke was done in the expanded universe. Obviously, in the expanded universe, we got to look into Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order. We also got to look into Luke Skywalker's love life and his love interest, of course, Mara Jade, and among others as well. And what's really intriguing about this, though, is that it was 80% finished, basically 80% filmed, before production came to a halt, where they had to do a lot of reshoots, in late 2019 of this year, where they shifted things around, a lot of scenes were deleted, and the sacrifice all had to do with deleting 30% of Mark Hamill's scenes, if not more than that, and a lot of them had to do with the flashback segments that Mark Hamill shot way back in September of 2018 and early 2019. So the thing about this that would have been so special is that it's more true to the Luke that we all know and love in the EU. I don't know about you guys if you have read the Expanded Universe or majority of it, but that version of Luke in the Expanded Universe is far better than how Luke is portrayed in the sequel trilogy, without question. Without question. When you actually learn about Luke and his life in the expanded universe compared to how Luke's life is portrayed even in canon material under Disney, it's far superior, at least in my opinion. I feel that that version of Luke was more closely associated with how we know and love him in the original trilogy than how Luke is used in The Last Jedi and so on and so forth. Now, the other thing that I also want to go over here is, of course, these reshoots and why it poses a big threat to the success of Episode 9. Now, the thing about reshoots is that it does, in fact, up the budget of this movie. And what happens when you up the budget of a movie is that if it's not going to succeed at the box office, period, when you actually poured more money into this thing, you're more at risk of making this movie into a box office flop. Now, that's the problem with The Rise of Skywalker, is that they did put a lot more money into this thing through reshoots. Even J.J. Abrams confirmed just yesterday that, reshoots went all the way until October, as we have been talking about for a very long time now. All the way until October. That is a big deal. 3 months worth of reshoots from August, September to October. And it doesn't help that J.J. Abrams admitted on Good Morning America, just the other day, that the script was actually stolen and almost sold on eBay. I don't know if you guys heard about that story, but it's all over the internet. J.J. Abrams talked about it on Good Morning America. Not something that I, as a director, would want to reveal. I'm not quite sure why he said that, but I guess it's out there now, and that's what J.J. wanted to do. Now, the thing about Mark Hamill, right? When we look at Mark Hamill, there is a lot of potential that he has as an actor to portray the version of Luke Skywalker that he wanted to portray in The Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi, and seems like he won't be getting that opportunity now, also with The Rise of Skywalker. Let's not forget that J.J. Abrams was also the one that did not allow Mark Hamill to do certain things that he wanted to do in The Force Awakens. Originally, Luke Skywalker, in his portrayal by Mark Hamill wanted Luke to do something a little bit more in The Force Awakens than just pulling his, hood backward and just turning around and looking at Rey. He wanted more than that, and J.J. Abrams said no. And so with that being said, it's no difference, with J.J. He's going to do what he wants to do with Luke in this movie, both in the form of flashbacks and in the form of a Force ghost. It's just very unfortunate that we never got to see this side of Luke, and honestly, I think that this is a catastrophe, the fact that they completely dodged that part of Luke's life, and the fact that it was being filmed, and that they went through production in order to fulfill this scene, and just later on deleted it and canceled it and just put it to the wayside, I think is a big mistake by Disney and Lucasfilm, because this would have been the key moment in which we got to see a version of Luke that was more true and or honest to how Luke was done in the expanded universe. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Most hardcore Star Wars fans, and a lot of Star Wars fans out there, prefer the version of Luke that we got in the 1990s and in the early 2000s after Return of the Jedi's release, and how he was actually portrayed in games and books and novels and comics. Far better than what we got in the, Disney Star Wars movies, without a doubt. So, like I say, we do know that Mark Hamill has expressed some of his frustration on Twitter. It could be just a joke, but he has said, before to this Twitter user that posted all these different tickets that he bought for The Rise of Skywalker, Mark Hamill says, just wait to watch it on cable. Mark Hamill said something like that. And to me, I don't know why you would make a joke about that, even if you're trying to be funny, but I feel that actually projects some of his frustration of all the different changes that happened with this movie, from deleted scenes to canceled production on specific sequences in the movie that involved Mark Hamill's portrayal of Luke. And you can only imagine how much money they really poured into this movie for reshoots. Hopefully they don't make the same exact mistake that Solo: A Star Wars Story went through, and hopefully this movie really does present itself as at least being better than that of The Last Jedi. So, like I say, there are good moments with this film, but there are a lot of bad decisions by Disney and Lucasfilm that we have been talking about that I just feel is just not healthy for this movie. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
to